I'm Pastor Tabatha Whitten, right here at the Remnant Ministries International. I'd like to thank you for joining us today. Wow, if you're anything like us, regardless of where you're watching from, you know this 2020 year has been like none other. We came into the year on a prophecy, a word of prophecy, a word that really warned us that we were going to be all right. And as we came into the year, we encountered the news that we were dealing with an invisible enemy. But you know what? The word had already warned us. And the word that warned us is the word that kept us moving even in weary times. I'm excited today because God has made a way for us to keep moving. He kept sending a word, and for every word, He kept selling us with a wind. And you know what we say around here? We say, we win. This has been a phenomenal year of ministry. I'd love for you to just take a moment to rewind as we reflect on how God has made a way for us to keep moving with His word.
Vine. Listen, I'm the true vine. I know a lot of stuff is going to go on. He says, I'm where you get your source from. I am what sources you. Listen, many of us want to go to God to be a resource, but we don't want to respect Him as the source. One more time. Somebody just need a resource. They just want to hook up. They just want to get what they need right now. But God is saying, you don't need what's in my hand if you are in my hand. Y'all don't want to talk to me. So we've got to quit just looking to God as a resource and understand He is the source. Don't you got to ask God to heal you. Just get in God. He's the healing that we need. Somebody shout, He's the source. Okay, He's the source. He's the source. So He is, somebody shout, He the source. So He says, I'm the power. We got a connection. I want you to understand that this connection is important. I am preparing you for the things that are important as things are shifting. What's important is connection. Now, I am talking about your connection to God, but I'm also talking about your connection to people. Because don't you see how the enemy is trying to fight connection? Y'all better hear me. Don't you see how he's trying? Everything that he's coming up with, everything that's going on, he's the prince of the power of the air. Come on, talk to me. And so as these things start coming up, and the precaution is for us to separate and divide. Y'all don't want to talk to me. You better understand that he is fighting the very thing that God is saying is very important. God said it ain't good for man to be alone. And now they're saying man ought to be alone. There is a contradiction. And so God says you must understand I am your source. You have connection with me, and you better make sure you got good connection with the people that you're connected to. Lord have mercy. Let me stop right there. You better make sure you got a good connection. You got good connections. I don't need somebody. I was telling from Luke the other night how this man that was paralyzed on a mat, and he had been there, and the Bible says Jesus came to Capernaum. Somebody you're going to say Capernaum, or however, Capernaum, wherever you from, tomato, you understand what I'm saying. But I'm saying that Jesus comes, and they know that he's there, and the Bible says this man is on the mat and he can't get to Jesus, but he has some good connections. Somebody shout, ain't nothing like a connection. He has some good connections. His connection said, hey, there is someone that can help you. And what they did is say, we know you're on this mat and you can't get to Jesus, but you know what? Because you connected to us and we can get to Jesus, you can get to Jesus. That's the kind of connection you want to have. They got this man up on the mat, packed the man to the house that Jesus was in. They could not get in the house that Jesus was in. And because he had such good connections, they were not deterred by the chaos. Lord have mercy. They were not deterred by the things that could have been a situation with them accomplishing what they had determined. But because he had such good connection, they said, we've come this far. We ain't finna be deterred. We are not going to let you down now. We ain't going to leave you the way we found you. Oh, the devil is a lie. We going to find a way. That's what a good connection will do. You need people who will find a way. I'll find a way to make sure you eat. I'll find a way to make sure you got clothes for your baby. I'll find a way to make sure that you get on your feet. I will find a way to be forgiven, for us to be right with God. He says, I am the true vine. I am the true vine. He says, listen what he says. He says, I have I'm the power. And I want you to understand that, yes, we got connection. Yes, we are in partnership, but there's a purpose behind this. Okay. This is not the place where you just get the name call and, you just benefit because, I know them. He said, no. If we are connected, you better believe that there is a contribution that's expected. Listen to what I'm saying. He says in verse 2, he says, every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away. And every branch that bears fruit, he prunes that it may bear. Come on. Okay. So the only point I'm trying to make now is that we cannot get lost now in changing times, that there is a purpose attached to our lives. Lord have mercy. I'm going to tell you the one thing that trouble will do. Trouble will try and confuse you. Trouble will try and tie you down. Trouble will try and keep you from accomplishing, from staying true to the task that God has designed for your life. But God, Jesus right here is talking to his disciples saying, I don't want you to get discouraged here. And I don't want you to get, I don't want you to be disrupted. And I don't want you to be, what we call it? Distracted. That's the word. I don't want you to be distracted, because there is a deposit to you for there to be a deposit from you. One more time. If we are connected, and we are, then there should be a contribution. You should be a conduit. Lord have mercy. You ought to be like a pipe that's connected and spits something out of you. I'm saying to us, if your connection is only good for you, it doesn't produce anything from you, then you got a bad connection. One more time. God wants for his children to be bearing fruit. Somebody shout, I'm a fruit bearing branch. I ain't just no branch. I ain't just occupying no space. I ain't just occupying oxygen. I ain't just getting sap. But what I am doing is making a deposit as it relates to my deposit. So there's a contribution for you to make. There's a purpose. There's a purpose in all of this. And could it be that God has all of this wind blowing? God has all of the stuff going on that he has going on just for you to be still enough to be reminded, hey, I got something for your life to accomplish. There is something that I need from you. You ain't just here to be here. You got purpose. You have destiny. You have gifts and abilities. I have given you an assignment, and I want for you to accomplish it. You are attached. Now can you accomplish my assignment? Okay, so there's purpose. Somebody shout, there's purpose. So God is the power, and God gives us the power to accomplish the purpose. So my partnership is not just for me to have this wonderful proclamation, but it's for there to be a demonstration in the earth realm. I'm supposed to bring something forth. What do you need to be bringing forth? What do you need to be bearing? He says, every branch that does not bear, oh, come on. He cuts it off. Oh, my God. But that's not the plan. That's not the plan. The plan is, if I allow the branch to be born, it's because the branch has something to give birth to. Purpose. Somebody shout purpose. Oh, God, purpose. And then I told you that there, you ought to just start shouting that you're a branch, because that speaks to provision. Lord. Oh, my God. Did you hear what I said? Here we connected to the power, and the power has made sure we understand we got purpose. And then what he has said is, and you ain't even got to worry, because what you need, go ahead and make the declaration. I have everything I need. Y'all don't want to talk to me. I know it's a big job. I know it's a whole lot that's being required of me, but I have everything I need. He says, I am making provisions for you. The reason he uses the analogy vine and branch is because the branch ain't got no responsibility. The branch just got to be attached. That's your assignment. I know you keep trying to work on how you gonna grow the ministry, how you gonna fix this, and how you gonna do that. God told me to tell you that the key to your destiny is just being disciplined enough. Somebody shout to hang on in there, because there's provision when you're hanging where you ought to be. There is protection when you're where you ought to be. Somebody shout, hang on. To have, to accomplish, to acquire, experience what it is God has extended for our lives, unless we get moving. But sometimes when you get moving, you got things like corona that shows up. You have things like circumstance in life that will show up. And so my word today is to encourage you. I know that you started moving, but I want to say to you, keep moving. Somebody shout, keep moving. And so we look here, what I want to say is without any flinching, without any second guessing, is that God has always intended for more to be the experience for man. Say it this way. I said like this: more has always been God's plan for man. Say it one more time. More has always been God's plan for more. If you're not sure what God's plan is for your life, let me just say to you very directly, God's plan for your life is more. Somebody shout more, regardless of what's going on and regardless of what you may be going through. I've come to talk to you, my brother, you, my sister, and just remind you that God has not changed his mind. More is still his plan for you. Somebody shout, he still has more. He still has more. We cannot, I don't care what we're going through, we cannot, I don't care what it looks like, we cannot lose sight of the reality that greater is still God's goal. One more time. Greater was God's goal, and if God still is who God was, then greater still is God's goal as it relates to man. When we look at creation, everything around creation reveals that God's expectation is summed up in one word. It's called expansion. Did y'all hear that? I said, when you look at creation, what you get to understand is God had an expectation that could be summed up with one word, and that one word is simply expansion. It's called more. One more time. Initially, what God did was he took the dust and he formed it. So dust now is greater because it has form. But even with form, it's not at its greatest form. You hear what I'm saying? It's not at its greatest form until he gets the breath of life in it, and then he's positioned for more because he has the Spirit of the living God dwelling on the inside of him. He has the breath of life dwelling on the inside of him. He's created in the image of God, which gives him the ability, like God, to be creative, and then God pronounces a blessing of more over his life. He says, be fruitful and multiply. I just want to tell you that from the beginning, everything that God planned and everything that God has anything to do with has always had a plan of more. Somebody shout more. Somebody just go ahead and encourage yourself. Say, I was made for more. Come on, I know you may be in a bad place. You may be in a miserable place. You may have some things going on, but we cannot allow life to lie to us. I was made for more. Come on, you got to be encouraging to your own life. I was said, I was made for more. We have to understand that God created us for, somebody shout, for more, for more. All of us, there's a more in all of us. There's a more for all of us, not just for some of us, but for all of us. It's the grace of God. Lord have mercy. It is God's goodness released to us, and it is received by faith. And what I'm saying is we must understand we cannot reduce our lives to a little when God has commanded more. Somebody shout more, more, more. So the Lord tells Abram, I have more for you. Listen, look here. Look. Genesis chapter 12, verse 1 says, now the Lord had said to Abram, get out of your country. So we're going to go. So he says, I have more for you. But then here's the next thing that he says. I have more, but in order for you to experience the more that I have for you, you must move. You got to move. Okay. So more many times is missed by us because we've not been taught that we've got to move. That just means you got to do something. One more time. That means that whatever it is God has positioned for us, we have to get on the path to take possession of it. Lord have mercy, I'm trying to help us now. What I'm saying is, the blessings are waiting for us. Lord have mercy. Now, when they talk about the blessings overtaking us, they only overtake us because we get on the road that they're on. Lord have mercy. I know y'all don't. No, nobody teaches you that. And so that's why some people are feeling real funny about theology, and they have strange ideologies about Christians, about believers, because they know it's crazy for us to be talking about it. It almost sounds magical. We talk about the things of God, and we talk about faith like it's mystical, like it's magic. Ain't no magic. It's muscle. Come on, talk to me. If you're going to obtain the things of the God, it says the blessings of the Lord are inherited through patience and faith. Faith and patience. So that means I've got to wait while I'm working with God. But if I don't, faith without works is dead. So I cannot believe that God has something more for me, but I never move in the direction that God has instructed for me to move. Come on. You are not waiting for somebody to call you for a job and you didn't even put no application in. If you believe that you're supposed to be working, you got to also work with the process and go put in some applications. Now, I know you're saying, well, not right now, but I'm just trying to tell us that we've got to get in step. We got to start moving. We got to start working on it. I was looking last night at the COVID-19 special on CNN, and they were talking about how certain things are showing up in the African American communities. And they were talking, and one of the guys says, yes, it is systemic racism. He said, but that's not the only problem that we're dealing with. He said, some of our problem is because we won't do minor things. We won't change our diet. Come on, talk to me. We won't alter our regimen as it relates to our activity. So he said, we won't practice things that are healthy for us. And so what he's basically saying is, see, we won't move in the direction that we need to move in for us to get out of the way of miserable. See, more is available for us. There's more health available for us. There's more wealth available for us. There's more accomplishments available for us. Yes, it is. There's more finance available for us. Yes, it is. There's more opportunity available for us. But our problem is we don't move. God will give us something in our mind, and we sit on our behind. Did you hear what I said? You got to move. You got to know that it requires something. Nothing from nothing leaves nothing. So if you get something and you do nothing with it, you're going to end up with a nothing at the end of it. You've got to hear the word, but then you've got to heed the word. That just means you got to move in the direction that the word gives you instruction. So you got to move. You got to move. One more time. You got to do something. There's more to life than that which is seen by the natural eye. And I really, in these times, want us to understand that unless we are able to see in the spirit realm, our lives will be lived in fear, panic, stagnation, and defeat. One more time. If you can only live by what it is your naked natural eye can see, you're going to be living a life full of fear, full of panic. Your life will stay in stagnation, and you will never really experience the victory that I believe Jesus Christ has intended for our lives to experience. You see, seeing in the natural is the ability to visually see what is in the material world. See things like trees and streets and people and vehicles. See things like the television in your home. See things like your device. See things like your hands and your feet. That's what your natural eyesight will afford you an opportunity to see. But when I talk about seeing in the spirit realm, I'm talking about being able to see or become in touch with the immaterial world. That's that which is not naked and natural to the natural eye. It's being able to discern or become in touch with things like motives and energy. That which is incapable of being touched with your natural hands. I'm trying to help us now. See, actual but not visible outside of the spiritual. So what I want to say to us is there are some things that are actual realities, but unless you are able to get into the spirit realm, you won't ever be able to discern them. I'm trying to help us now. And so what I want to say to us is that your natural eyes, your natural requires eyesight, while your spiritual requires insight. Lord have mercy. And I want more than just the ability to have eyesight. I need to have some insight in times like right now. I need to be able to see beyond that which is. That I need to be able to see beneath what is seen with my natural. Somebody shout, Lord, help me to see. What do you want me to do for you? And I love this because, again, I told you that Elisha was a bold kind of man. He was bold. He wasn't bashful. He didn't act as if he was modest. You understand what I'm saying? He would tell the truth. He said, you know what I want? I want a double portion of your spirit. Lord have mercy. He said, I want a double portion of your spirit. Listen here. He didn't say, I want a double portion of your possessions. Lord have mercy. He said, I want a double portion of your spirit. He wasn't chasing the natural. He was chasing the spirit of Elijah. Lord have mercy. And a lot of us would do so much better in life if we would learn to be interested in the spirit of things and not simply the things that we can see with our natural eye. Lord have mercy. Let me slow down. I said a lot of us would do so much better if we would become spirit seekers and not just see seekers. Lord have mercy. Because you do know that sometimes what looks like it's pretty good ain't no good at all. My mama would say, all that glitters, oh, you know it, it ain't gold. Come on, talk to me. So we've got to understand that there is so much more than what we can see. You know, the Bible teaches us in 1 John 4:1, don't just be those who go after what you see. This is what he says. He says, try the spirit. Mercy. He said, what you got to do is get to the root of the matter. You want to get to what, if you really want to figure out what you're really dealing with, don't be excited. Don't be all put out and all giddy over what a thing looks like. He said, you got to try the spirit, Lord God. He said, try the spirits and see if they are from God. Why? Because there are many false prophets that are going to go out and they're going to look good, but at the base of them, somebody shout, it ain't no good. Somebody shout, it's spirit. It ain't what I see with my natural naked eye. It's about my spirit. Somebody shout, check into the spirit. Elisha had a goal. He had a goal for greater. He had a goal for greater. Why you say that, Pastor? Because he said, I want a double portion. He wanted greater. And ain't that something? We would call him arrogant. We would say that's excessive. We would say that is out of order to be asking for a double portion. But if somebody asks you what you want, Lord have mercy, somebody give you a blank check, why would you say $10 and you can put whatever amount in it you'd like to have? I'm like Elisha. Somebody shout double. I want greater. I want more. Somebody shout spiritual. Lord have mercy. Listen, he knows something about sight. And in this text, go back and read it. You know I tell you to go back and read it because we ain't got all day to talk about the whole text in this 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 minutes I got. Go back and read this. But what you'll see here is Elisha begins to pray for his servant. And out of all of the things that he could pray for, he asked God to open up his eyes. I want to talk to leaders. I want to talk to people who are in position to influence. One of the things that we can do, the greatest prayer that we can pray to God is for God to open the eyes of the people that we are leading. Lord have mercy. Oppose the Lord, let them get it. They can't get it until they can see it. Lord have mercy. Did you know that one of the reasons I believe that the Lord allowed the 12 spies to go over into the promised land is because you can't get excited about getting something that you don't have an idea what it looked like. Y'all don't want to talk to me. And so what he did was he allowed them to go over. And you know how it is. Now, if you really want to get a kid excited, let them go through and look at some of the things that they're going to get for Christmas so that they see that it exists. And it creates a different kind of posture from them, a different kind of energy, a different kind of response. Sit down. And they sit down. You remember that door? What you see has the ability to rule, guide, direct your activity. And so he asked him to pray for his eyes. Lord, open his eyes. Lord, let him see. And that's the same prayer that Paul prays over there in Ephesians 1:18. He prays, he says, oh God, I'm praying that the eyes of their hearts may be enlightened. Lord, have mercy. The eyes of your heart is not your natural naked eye. It's your spirit stars, eyes of your heart, so that you can discern past just what something looks like. I've had people that was nice to me me that were helpful, but because I could see, y'all don't want to talk to me, because I could see past what was being presented, it protected me. We must ask God, open my eyes. Lord have mercy. Don't let me be limited to just what I can see naturally. Lord, I need you to help me to see spiritually. Somebody shout, I may need to switch my views, because all I'm seeing is danger and defeat, and all I'm seeing is overload. But if you open my spiritual eyes, then I'll see victory, I'll see gain, I'll see progress. Somebody shout, open my eyes. Lord have mercy. One of the most distinguishing characteristics of a life that is graced up. Y'all know what graced up is? Graced up. Grace, the graced up, one more time, is the life that has experienced God's grace. I think that when a life has experienced, give you a new word, it's called graced up. When a life is graced up, it should act up right. It should reflect gratitude. I think that any life that continues or has enough guts to say, I got the grace, you ought to also be known to have the gratitude because of the grace. Somebody shout, I got the grace now. I got the grace. I believe that wherever grace has visited, wherever grace has been welcomed, wherever grace has been visited, I believe that there should be a visual and a voluntary thank you. I'm going to say that one more time. That is so good. Wherever grace has visited, knock, 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 knock. Who is it? It's grace. When you let grace come in, grace going to do you some good. And when grace does you some good, you ought to do good because grace has done you good. Listen to what I said. I said, for every place that grace has visited, there should be a visual and what I will call a voluntary thank you. Yes, it should. Should be a thank you. I said voluntary because there are some thank yous that are not so voluntary. What you mean, Pastor? You know when the Bible says that the Lord loves a cheerful giver? Lord have mercy. See, that is a voluntary, that is a grateful, that is a cheerful giving. God is saying, I'm not just concerned about you giving, because there are a lot of people that give, and they give for a whole lot of reasons, and they have a whole lot of attitudes when they give. But God says, if you do give, then what you need to understand is this is the kind of giver that I'm looking for. I like cheerful givers. The Lord loves cheerful givers. So wherever grace has visited, it ought to be a visual, voluntary thank you. I'm going to give you a moment right there because I know grace has shown up. How do I know grace has shown up? Because you got up. The Lord is blessing me right now, Lord, right now. The Lord is blessing me right now. How you know the Lord is blessing me right now? Oh, he woke. There you go, right there. So I'm going to give all the graced up people an opportunity right now to just show up right and just say, Lord, thank you. Come on, one more time. The way that you respond to grace is in gratitude. Say, Lord, thank you. Nobody's got to put no gun up to my head. Nobody's got to make me say thank you. Nobody's got to threaten me to say thank you. I recognize the Lord is blessing me. The Lord is good to me. And what I'm going to do is act like I understand it. And I'm going to say, somebody shout thank you, thank you, thank you. Listen, let me tell you one more time. Where grace has visited, it ought to be a visual and a voluntary thank you. But I want to tell you something else today. What God told me is sometimes that thank you doesn't have to have no volume. Lord have mercy. Did you hear what I said? Every now and then, what we got to do is understand that gratitude has an attitude, but it also has the ability to extend a message without saying one mumbling word. Grace has the ability to show up in a person's life, and that response is in such a way that you don't have to say nothing, but you sure will show it. If you're graced and you know it, somebody shout, wave your hands. See what I'm saying? You ain't got to say nothing every now and then. They say, if I can't say a word, y'all don't want to talk to me. Sometimes I can't say nothing because when I start thinking about how God graced me, it messes me up. I can't get my words out right. So what I have to just do is stop and throw my hands up and say, God, you sure have graced me up. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Every grace act ought to be responded to with a visual, what I would call voluntary thank you. And I want to remind you that sometimes you ain't got to say nothing. Lord have mercy. Sometimes your volume needs to go on mute so that your action can make a proclamation about your situation. Somebody shout, I'm grateful. I'm grateful. I got the grace. I got the grace, and I'm grateful. Say grace. I got it. Say grace. I got it. Say grace. I got it. One more time. Oh, we're graced. We're graced in the city. We're graced in the field. We're graced. We're graced when we come. We are graced. Down every stronghold. Sickness and poverty must cease. For the devil. For the devil is defeated. We are graced. Everybody say grace. I got it. I got it. 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 Here we go. Late in the midnight hour, grace gonna turn it around. It's gonna work in your favor. Everybody say late in the midnight. Late in the midnight hour. Say grace. Grace gonna turn it around. It's gonna work. It's gonna work in your favor. Everybody say late. Late in the midnight hour. Grace. Grace gonna turn it around. It's gonna work. It's gonna work in your favor. One more time. Say, hey, telling you late. Late in the midnight hour. Say grace. Grace gonna turn it around. It's gonna work. It's gonna work in your favor. I've got grace. Woo. Say late. Late in the midnight hour. Say grace. Grace gonna turn it around. 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 I've got grace. I've got grace in my life. Telling you I've got the grace on my life. On my life. Say it again, I've got grace. I've got grace on my life. Yeah. Here we go. And we go. And nothing can ever go wrong. With grace by my side. When I woke up early this morning, it was staring me in my eyes. I've got good grace on my life. For no good reason, I've got grace, grace, grace on my life. Somebody shout, it's amazing. I've got grace. I've got grace on my life. Oh, and amazing grace. Yes, Lord. How sweet the sound there saved a wretch like me. I was, oh yeah, I really was lost, but now I'm found, and it's all because of grace. I was blind, ooh, but now I see. I've got grace all over my life. Yes, I do, because of the blood. Grace. Say it with me. Don't waste the grace. One more time. Don't waste the grace. God has given you the grace, and I'm going to say to you today, don't waste the grace. Grace is always makes a great story. Wherever grace shows up in any story, it's going to always make the story great. There's no way to talk about a place or a situation where grace shows up and grace does not show out. That grace does not have something to contribute to the situation or the circumstance. Now, you have to be careful because usually we don't understand that grace likes to hang out in grave kind of places. We already talked about that. Grace like to show up in places that's doomed, places that's supposedly done, places that are dormant. Grace shows up in pitiful places. Grace shows up on purpose to pitiful places to release a power so that pity can be turned into power. Grace wants to change the testimony. Grace does not want you to stay the same as you were when grace showed up in your scene. So if grace shows up, grace has an act. Grace has an accomplishment. Grace is intentional. It wants to show forth something from its time. And in times like right now, where the world is full of uncertainty, full of change, and full of, in some instances, a lot of fear, we should practice something that I think will help you live better even right now. With all of the bad that's around you, with all of the stuff that is troubling you, with all of the things that you say you need for you, I would like for you to start practicing something real early, right now today, that's going to help to transform your whole life. I'm telling you, I've tried it and it works. No, not WW, not Weight Watchers, no, not keto, no, I ain't talking about that. No, I'm not talking about, what is it, the sea moss, what is it? I don't know. No. This I know will change your life. It is beginning to practice what I call grace gratitude. Grace gratitude. So grace gratitude causes you to get up every day with an intention, with a purpose. So when you open your eyes, what you start to do immediately is look for something that you have that identifies God's goodness. And then once you recognize that goodness, what you do is acknowledge the goodness with a thank you. Okay. If I get up and look for good, and I'm going to tell you right now, every morning you get up, you're going to be able to find this good. Now, I know it's going to seem like, I can't believe you're saying that. But if you open your eyes, that right there is a testament to God's goodness. That's grace on display. It is something, a good that you have in your life for no good reason, nothing that you could do to produce it. And what you should start doing is practicing a posture of gratitude. So when I open my eyes, if I can open my eyes, if I can get up, even if I can't get out the bed, if I can get up, then what I want to do is start practicing a gratitude. I call it a grace gratitude. So if I can find something good and then start to live in gratitude, it's going to change my whole day. It's going to change me. Did you know that when you are grateful, it changes everything that's going on? It does. I'm not saying it makes everything good, but it changes how the bad comes along. Y'all don't want to talk to me. So we're going to get up in the morning. If we see good, then what we're going to do is act like we see good, and we're not going to take good for granted. We're going to say, Lord, here we go, practice. Lord, I thank you. I promise you, if you start this practice, it's going to change your life. I'm going to say it like this: where grace is present, gratitude should also be present. I already told you this last week. If you get up and you have grace in your life, then don't be the Grinch of grace. Be grateful. Be grateful. Say thank you. If grace shows up, you should be grateful. And you should not just be grateful, but you should be graceful. That's full of grace. So here we go. One of the things I want you to practice, number one, is acknowledging grace. You have to acknowledge grace. When you acknowledge grace, then if you can acknowledge grace, then you should appreciate grace. So we're going to get up every day beginning to practice appreciation. Somebody shout appreciation. But then we must have proper appropriation. And all that is putting things in their proper place. It is doing what should be done with what we have. It's appropriating. So I must learn that life is not just about appreciation, but it is also about appropriation, because many of us have exactly what we need, but because we don't know what to do with what we have, Lord have mercy, we still find ourselves needing something. I'm telling you one more time, life is not miserable because of your minus. That's not the issue. The issue is knowing how to manage what you have. Lord have mercy. One more time. Life is not miserable because of a minus, because of a low. Life is miserable because we've not learned management. So if I get up and say, Lord, teach teach me to be grateful. Lord, teach me to say thank you. And then, Lord, teach me what to do with what I have. Lord, help me to be grateful. Lord, help me not to be mad that my house is raggedy, but help me to be thankful that I'm not sleeping on the street. Lord, help me not to be tripping about my car being a putt-putt. But Lord, thank you that you gave me gas money. Lord, thank you that the bed I slept in, I didn't understand it wasn't my cooling board. I didn't understand that. But I got a revelation as I got older. I'm glad that where I laid down, I was able to get up. And where I laid down, it was warm and not cold. Lord have mercy. Somebody shout, thank you. Oh God. So I wanna have appreciation and appropriation. Appreciation and appropriation. I want to acknowledge what I have. God, give me enough sense to know what I have. I have something to be grateful for. I have something to work with. But then God, help me, teach me. The psalmist in Psalm 90 says, teach me how to live my days. Teach me how to number my days so that I can live out wisdom. Teach me how to do what I need to do with what I have. So somebody shout again, appreciation and appropriation. And grace is for grace. So if I have grace, grace has a reason. Grace has a reason. I said grace is for grace. I told you Wednesday, grace is to show up for you to experience expansion. Grace shows up to give you greater. We've been talking about greater the whole year. And guess what? I'm going to keep talking about it. As God keeps moving us, we're going to keep having the confession from our lips that God desires, God's wish. God came, sent Jesus to die so that we could have greater. So don't try and shut me up about greater. It's my God-given right. Somebody shout, I'm supposed to have greater. And it ain't because of me. Somebody shout, there goes that grace again. I'm supposed to have grace not because I deserve it, but because God desired it. And so as long as I live, I'm going to be reminded that greater is supposed to be my later. Somebody shout greater.
I'm so glad that you had an opportunity, and I know you've been blessed. We almost need to stop. It's like, I can't believe we've had that kind of time in these kinds of times, but that's the kind of God that we serve. So I want to just take a moment before we exit and ask you if you know Jesus as Lord and Savior of your life. What an incredible way to end a year like right now with making sure that you're safe in the arms of Jesus. So if you need to just reposition your life, let me ask you to repeat after me. Lord, I'm inviting you into my life. I believe Jesus died for my sin. I believe he was buried, and I believe he was resurrected. And I believe one day he's going to return to receive me. Lord, help me to be the me you created me to be. And thank you now for doing what you have done in my life. To you be all glory and honor in Jesus' name. Listen, if you prayed that prayer, we'd love for you to get in touch with us. I'd like to just keep coaching you to come closer to Christ, to being more like Christ. I want to say to you, God bless you. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all of that as we're moving forward. Don't ever leave the Word, because the Word will make sure it gets you out of whatever your way is. God bless you.